camping trip.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of the month.
Yes.
At which Addison will be done with her job.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go. Because we have a place now. Kind of. A relative geographical location.
Yeah, we got a place.
So we'll see. Should be good.
I think I'm going to start with the mini cigars.
Alright.
They're so fun.
They're fun.
So bite-sized.
I will stick with the old pipe. Because I don't have many cigars. But I also kind of just want to smoke a pipe.
These are the Monte Cristo White Series mini cigars.
Very good. Probably for the next episode, you have a new tobacco to try as well, yeah?
Yeah,
something
from a dear friend.
A friend of ours.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
That'll be sick.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about something in the news recently.
Yes.
Even though you don't keep up with the news, you know about it now.
I know about it now, but only from you. I have not read anything else about it.
Well, I haven't really read that much either. It's all speculation at this point for me, but it's interesting.
Sounds like it might be speculation for everyone else too, mostly. But that's okay.
Yeah. So, from what I can gather, in the news, there's this asteroid or meteor or some big flying space object that's hurling towards Earth, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe around Earth, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know very much. And allegedly, I've heard that, like, behind it, there is, like, this other object that we weren't told about for a while or something like that. And then, from what I've heard, the government and NASA and all these space agencies are, like, either covering it up or they're, like, preparing for it, or it's just definitely there, but it's kind of unclear what it is. And I read a couple, like, articles that mentioned some, like, Harvard professors and, like, astrophysicists and stuff, and some of them think that it could be an alien spacecraft. Which is crazy. Which it could just be, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't really look that much into it. I've seen some, like, pictures, but, like, pictures of space are always weird.
Yeah.
They're always, like, blurry pictures of Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite so clear what you're looking at. But, yeah, some people think it's, like, alien spacecraft. I'm sure some people are just like, oh, it's just a bunch of crystals or something. I don't know. But, yeah. What do you think, knowing nothing about it?
Yeah. With my expert opinion. I guess I would certainly want to know what it means for something to be behind a comet or an asteroid, right? Like, from my limited knowledge of science, the speed at which this object is traveling would probably be very fast, with a very small margin for error if you were to try to follow it, right? And follow it closely enough so as to be seen behind it. I think that would be difficult to do. So, maybe, like, is the claim that there's a ship that is using this comet to try to obscure itself, or that the comet itself, or whatever it is a ship?
I think it's the former. That, like, something... I guess the idea is that maybe whatever's behind it could be trying to, hide behind it from our view. But that we saw it, and now we're like, oh, crap. I think that's the basic understanding of the dilemma. But what I was thinking, because I don't know much about... I'm sort of a scientific layman. Mm-hmm. I've studied some science in college, but not as much as most people, and not very much astrophysics. That's all independent study. I feel like it's possible that, like, there could be shadows or glares or things like that because of lenses and cameras and but it seems like they have quite a bit of like radar technology at their disposal if it's NASA and like the government and stuff. I feel like they probably have all the big labs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure
well, if it's true
how
that,
they would miss it.
If it's true that there's something behind it, from our perspective, like that would be strange for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would happen. Surely it's not big enough to have a gravitational pull of any kind to like.
Well, what if it's like a
something.
small cluster, you know? Like some things that maybe broke off of it that are still moving at the same speed. Because there's no like wind resistance, right, in space. There's nothing like that. So like if a fragment breaks off, it's still moving at the same speed, hypothetically.
Yeah, but it would only break off. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I would think that parts of it would only be able to break off if A, it entered an atmosphere, or B, like where there's air resistance to like create friction, or B, if something else hit it.
Yeah. Or it could be the case that it's always been this way and we just recently saw that, oh, I guess there's two flying at us.
Yeah, I suppose so. It seems very unlikely to me that they would happen to be in the same direction, the same trajectory. I mean, I guess... Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's possible.
So, let's say that there is some object that's behind it. I mean, I guess we could talk about what we think it could be. But let's say that, you know, crazy scenario happens. It's something that is intelligent. Intelligent enough to move behind a comet towards Earth.
Yeah.
Right? What are the implications of that? Do you think it's possible? What do you think it could be? Like, you, Ethan.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Broadly speaking, I guess I'll just kind of lay out my position on alien things in general. By the way, this is a Halloween special. I don't know if we mentioned that. Not really a Halloween special, because it's the same as all our other episodes. We're just talking about aliens.
Yeah.
But happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Anyway, yeah, Okay, so certainly the universe is big, and there's a lot of things that are beyond our observation. Even things that seem like they're within our observation are in many ways beyond our observation. Like, say, Mars, there could be other things that live there that we don't know about, even though it's relatively close.
You think so?
It's possible. I'm not saying that I think it's likely. I just think it's possible.
Okay.
Maybe underground or maybe whatever. I don't know. Somehow obscured from our reach. But even things way further than that exist, and way farther beyond our vision or perception. So just on like the face of it, it could be the case that there's something out there that we don't know about. So I'm not closed off to the possibility of alien life, nor am I closed off to the possibility of intelligent life. But I don't find it particularly likely, or at the very least I'm agnostic to the likelihood of it, because a lot of people will say, okay, there's a million whatever planets out there, millions and millions of planets, and so surely on one of them, right, just from a statistical standpoint, there's some kind of life. But at least from my worldview, I don't think that really works, because if you have a scientific naturalist's perspective, where every floating rock in space is a chance for amino acids to spontaneously generate and create life, or whatever they think, then sure, that makes sense. But I don't think that life came to Earth by random chance, or by any statistical probability really at all. I think that life, and most especially intelligent life, is the result of the creation of God. So I think it's possible that if he wanted to make something else somewhere else, he might have done that. He would have done that if that's what he wanted, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm not closed off to the possibility that there's something else out there. But I don't think, on the face of it, that every like floating rock in space is a chance for life, so to say. You know what I'm saying?
I've talked to some people who have asked, usually Christian people who've asked, well, wouldn't God have mentioned it?
Mm-hmm.
Like somewhere in the creation story we would have that, or in the Bible, or things like that, I guess. Wouldn't he have mentioned that there were other created things that weren't on Earth?
He could have. He could not have. Like, I don't even really feel entitled to the information that we have from God. So I certainly don't feel entitled to any of the information we don't have.
Sure, but I mean, we know things, like you said, that are not even really necessary for us to know. Maybe about, like, angels and pieces of the afterlife and glimpses of the kingdom of heaven and the things like that. We have glimpses of that. So kind of would make sense that we would hear something or other about it.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you think it makes man any less special?
No, I don't think so. Just, like, what's special about us is that we're not so much that we're alone in the universe, is that we bear the divine image.
Sure.
So if there are other things out there that bear the divine image, that just makes them special also. Not really, I don't feel that it diminishes our place.
Do you think but on Earth, we're the only thing that has the sort of level of, like, intelligence that we have, right? And that's part of the image. So do you think there could possibly be other creatures that also have that image? Because we don't get that in the Bible. It definitely doesn't mention it, if there are, but
yeah,
it sort of talks about man as being created in that image. And part of that image is, our reasoning and thinking capacities and...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, man is definitely created in the image of God. It doesn't, like, I just think we have an absence of evidence, right? Like, I don't think that you can really make a logical move to say, because Scripture says God made man in his image, as opposed to the other animals on Earth. I don't think that that logically rules out him making anything else anywhere else in his image. Maybe even the angels are in his image. I'm not clear on that either. I mean, Psalm says we're a little lower than the angels, so I don't know what that means.
We also judge the angels.
Yeah. So I don't really know what that means either.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm sure that some Christians would also ask, especially some that I know might ask, well, do you think it could be like an angel or a demon or some spiritual being?
Yeah, it's interesting, the sort of symbolic parallels between these things. I think this is going to maybe end up being kind of a non-answer to that question, but our ancestors would have considered the heavens to be above, right?
Yeah.
And we still speak about it like that in sort of a romantic or symbolic sense, but a lot of people, I get the sense, don't believe that the heavens are necessarily above us, like in space, or there's sort of been a what would you say, like de-romanticization of the firmament and what's beyond it, because we can go up there now, allegedly. And we can see that it's mostly just like empty space and floating rocks and stars doing whatever they're doing. So it would be interesting to see. I think our ancestors would have construed anything that having come from the heavens as being probably spiritual, angelic, maybe, whatever. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe there's some kind of parallel there, or maybe heaven is purely spiritual, or maybe it has no physical component, or maybe there's some physical location of it. I don't know. You get into like a lot of weird metaphysics there that scripture isn't super clear on. Because all this at least this particular thing we're talking about, this comet or whatever, and most, I think, alien-related sightings are physical phenomena. At least we can observe them with our eyes. They're at least somewhat physical, at least partially. And like demonology would suggest that they can't get into our minds in the way that God can, because he's omniscient and they're not. And so like I wouldn't construe it as some kind of like hypnosis or hallucination that they're causing us to have, because I don't know that can happen, or I would think that can't happen. So it's probably physical, which I don't know. Yeah, is there any sense in which demons are physical, or could be? I don't know. In the sense that they could possess us, yeah, sure. So is there like...
That's kind of the wrong question, maybe, because physical is a hard one to ask because of what we think physical means, but are they perceivable with human senses, right? Because maybe it could be sort of a phantasm or a ghostly type the way we perceive it. And it may not have all the physical traits of a thing, but it's still perceivable to some degree.
Yeah, so, I guess I would think that only somewhat, at least partially physical things are perceivable by physical means, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Like, I would think that if it was purely spiritual and had no physical dimension, we wouldn't be able to see it, but maybe we would, like, feel it or experience it or something in some way. But, yeah, so I think you'd have to ask that question, or at least have a thought on that question before you would say that any of these things that we're seeing are demons. I've heard that, though, a lot. Like, a lot of people believe that, I think. A lot of Christian people believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, a theme of this, I think, is going to be that I'm relatively agnostic to the alien issue. I don't have a super clear... I haven't looked into it so much, and I don't feel pressured to, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like a pressing need to know that. I figure I'll know if it is relevant to me.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting. I'm not trying to shut down the conversation. I'm just saying a lot of my thoughts on it are very vague. What about you? What are your thoughts on all those things?
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know, because I guess if I were to just say everything I think about aliens, I'd say my basic understanding is that as long as it's not from Earth or on Earth and it's alive, it could be an alien, right? So if it's like a worm on Mars, is that an alien?
Like germ or whatever?
Yeah. We could say that that's an alien, I guess, and that doesn't really matter so much to me. I'm not so sure that there's like really intelligent life out there somewhere. I'm pretty sure there isn't. And I guess when I talk to people who really strongly are on the side of like, well, there's millions of planets and it's probably the case that there's another, bunch of aliens out there because it just makes sense statistically, like what you were saying earlier. I'm not so sure that everything is quite as big as we think it is. And I'm not sure that everything we think we see is like 100% explainable. Like, I'm not quite so sure of just how vast the amount of planets are. Like, I just don't know. I'm very skeptical of all of the nature of all those sorts of things. But also, like you said, I don't think that necessarily means there's aliens out there. And if there are other life forms...
I don't think it even statistically implies it.
Yeah. Considering we're the only ones we know about, it kind of makes sense to think that there's not very many others. We seem to be the anomaly.
Yeah. Sure.
But let's say there are other worms and stuff out there, like, even if they got really smart and evolved and did whatever, I just don't see them becoming as quite as intelligent as humans are. Not that we're, I don't want to seem arrogant, but we're not even like all the things on Earth, right? All of the smartest things on Earth are like not nearly as smart as humans.
Yeah,
and there's all sorts of people that argue that too, and a lot of those people that argue that would probably say that there's aliens.
Yeah.
But I've heard a lot of people be like, oh, well, dolphins are really smart, and dogs are really smart, and mushrooms are really smart, and octopus are really smart, and octopus might even be aliens. And it's just like, I don't think they're aliens. I guess they could be, but all of those things are not as smart as people. Like, they're smarter than a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But they're not as smart as humans, right?
Not even remotely close. Well, and it's not just intelligence, too. It's like, I don't know, there's something else, like, is, like, the wisdom to self-reflect and think about, like, transcendent things. Like, is that intelligence? I don't know. Not, maybe not intelligence per se. Like, I don't know how helpful that is for like, surviving, you know? Probably not very helpful. Yeah. But it's something different for sure.
Yeah. But, like, the heightened level of consciousness and intuition and, like, reasoning and thinking and debating and dialogue and all those sorts of things, right? And the way we build things and do things, like our society, the way we retain information and record information and all that sorts of things. Like, no other animals, no other creature that we know about does those things.
Yeah.
None. There's not stone tablets that octopus have written on, right? There's not vast interconnected kingdoms that monkeys have. Like, yeah, they got the little gangs and troops and stuff, but have they built temples? Do they have written language? You know, it's like, we're so far and above and just entirely different that if anything's alien to this planet, I think it's us. We seem the most different to me. I mean, like, we wear clothes and we wear jewelry and we fight wars and we build weapons and we're interested in exploring and taming and conquering and taking care of all of the other animals, and none of them are really that way. You know, I saw recently in the news there was like a gang of, I think it was chimpanzees, that have started wearing masks to rob supermarkets. And people are talking about how like these are pretty sick masks, if I'm going to be honest. They're like classic tribal looking masks, and they've been making them out of like sticks and stuff and leaves. They have like eye holes and shapes and things like that. Whether or not it's real, I think it's real based on the news article I read. It still, to me, I'm not thinking Planet of the Apes is around the corner, you know? Some people are acting like that, like, oh, they're evolving, they're getting smart. Like, cool, that is a cool thing, but that's not like, you know, it's not close. It's not close.
And even I would say, one thing that, like, doesn't appeal to me about the Planet of the Apes movies, I guess, that it doesn't explore, is, like, I think even if humans were not as intelligent as monkeys in areas of, like, practical survival, like, let's say monkeys could build things and had technologies and stuff that we didn't have or weren't capable of making, I think that humans would still have that sort of self-reflective, transcendent mind to think about yourself, to think about your place in the universe, to think about your origin and your purpose and your meaning and what that means for other people and, you know, the afterlife and all of these things. Like, I think that is maybe distinct from intelligence, or at the very least, like, I feel like that more than anything else is what separates us from the animals. Because sure, you can say monkeys, you know, maybe, I don't really think so, but maybe if you gave them 1 trillion more years or whatever, they could get to the point where they're building things and whatever. But, like, we've never seen any evidence whatsoever that any animal of any kind has that level of cognizant depth, you know.
And what's interesting is, like, people will say, like, well, it's, you know, you can't see it all, and we've evolved to where we are, and maybe trillions of years from now those things will have evolved there. But what's interesting is we're not the oldest thing on the planet.
Right.
And the things that are the oldest things on the planet
Are a lot dumber than we are.
yeah, they're like survival experts, and
Yeah.
they're not intellectual like humans are, right? So given the same amount of time or longer, things don't just have this spark, this soul quality, right? That doesn't just happen to things given the amount of time.
Right.
And given the lack of time that we have, if we look at everything from like a scientific perspective, and maybe humans evolved a little later than some other things, and maybe we came from a common ancestor to apes, well, all the other things that came from that common ancestor, they didn't get to where we are.
They're
either.
still apes.
And if we were evolving in the same sorts of ways that all of the other things are, we wouldn't be there either. Yeah. So to me, even the thing that makes the most sense is even if we came from a common ancestor, and even if whatever, you just wrap it all the way back, like at some point there was like some sort of out of this world input that was just boom on humans, and then bam, it was like something that doesn't make sense to evolve into, like you were saying, like being able to think about, unfortunately, things like suicide or self-destructive things, or even things like meditating on the afterlife, or all sorts of things like that aren't really that helpful for immediate survival. And so it would not have been something that, like, if you evolved it, would have been that helpful. Yeah. So it's just not one of those things, right? So that to say, I don't think that this is an alien spacecraft.
Okay.
And by alien spacecraft, I mean it in the truest, most scientific sense. I don't think that there is a planet full of hyper-intelligent beings that is capable of building a craft that can travel through space at speeds and distances that is not done by any other known living thing that we have, and has decided to come to Earth.
Yeah.
I just don't think that that's possible. That doesn't make any sense to me. Could it be something intelligent? Like, maybe, but I mean, I'm more likely to believe that it's humans from the future than I am to believe that there's aliens that have created it and have a vested interest in humanity.
I'm almost more likely to believe that it's humans from the past.
No shot.
Yeah. I'm much more likely than from the future. I think, in principle, time travel forward is possible. Just, speed and relationship. Sure. But I think in principle, time travel into the past is impossible.
Okay, yeah. No,
so I would say that.
Oh shoot.
But
then it would have to be from so long ago that it's forgotten.
So long ago, yes. I'm talking about like maybe thousands, certainly maybe millions of years. There are really interesting videos from people who are archaeologists. Like if you go back into those old prehistory, like prehistoric periods. Especially like megalithic structures, things that you find in South America, things that you find in the Middle East, that don't make a ton of sense given the data we have. And I'm not an expert in this. I've watched a couple of videos, so I'm not going to comment on it. I would encourage. There's a really great video by Michael Knowles.
Graham Hancock's a great source too.
Yep, I've seen some videos from him. Michael Knowles has a video with a guy. I don't remember what it's called or his name, to be honest. But if you just looked up Michael Knowles, Indiana Jones, that's what it's like in the title, as a joke. But it's just this guy that is like an archaeologist, and he became a Christian through archaeology because all these things mesh with kind of some of the Old Testament and like even Book of Enoch kind of discussions about the past. Anyway, that's a really great resource. And I'm not saying that. Well, he doesn't even seem super confident in what he's saying. He's just like, look, I'm saying I've seen, like, let's look at Machu Picchu, right? People say the Inca built it. But the trouble with that hypothesis is that there's a clear point at which something was built on top of what was there already.
I've seen this.
And there's really advanced, really stable, really, by our standards, well-made structures on the base of things. And then at a certain level, which is consistent, relatively consistent across the board, it gets way worse and way less advanced and way less stable. And that's why all of that has crumbled and the bottom parts are still there. So, like, if you had the technology as the Inca to make it great and awesome and stable and last forever, of course you would just have done that the whole way. Instead of making half of your structure
Sure.
stupid and useless.
Yeah.
So the idea being like some of those things are like incredibly old, and also they had a lot of advanced knowledge that we don't have.
Yeah.
Even as recent as the Romans, for example, like we just figured out about Roman concrete, which basically repairs itself. In the last like 10 years, we discovered this. And
Yeah, so you think that it's, which I think I'm on the same page as you, but that it's more likely lost technology from a previous lost civilization of humans that is somehow circling back.
yeah, I think so.
Or maybe even
Let me
using
rephrase that.
this to come back.
I don't think that that's what's happening per se, but I think that that's more likely than aliens. I'm not sure I'm as closed off to aliens as you are. I think it's true. I agree with everything you said about the animals and everything, and that's all the data we have. But I am still open to the possibility, maybe God wanted to create something else with the divine image, and maybe there's another story playing itself out in another part of the universe of creatures God cares about and stuff. I have no reason to think that that's true. But by the same token, I don't have anything that I think would directly contradict that. So right now, I would definitely be more on the side of that's not the case than it is, but I'm technically open. I don't have any reason to reject that out of hand. But I have a lot more reason to think that there were human people, very ancient, that knew a lot of things that we don't, that could be... maybe they found a way to leave Earth. Maybe they found, I don't know. They found some, there's some crazy stuff, and we can get it. I'm sure we're about to get into some of that they found archaeologically, and even just if you look at the myths that we have and the things that people say about the spiritual realm or things that people could do. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting. But yeah, I think, based on recent archaeology and old archaeology and recently recovered archaeology, all those sorts of things, it does make sense that there was a lot of different types of technology and advancement that humans made throughout time. I mean, what's one of the common wow factor moments that comes to my mind is how long the Egyptian civilization was.
Right.
That amount of time, right?
Yeah.
It's as long, they were around as long as the distance between the birth of Jesus and where we are now, or longer in
than
fact,
that,
right?
yeah, by quite a bit.
So it's to assume that they didn't develop any sort of advanced technology, and that by mere luck we happen to be in this super advanced technology time where it's maybe it's different, but we have no reason to believe that they just didn't develop things, I think.
Yeah, I certainly, if you take a look at one factor in my conversion to Christianity was the belief that humans across time are more or less the same. Fundamentally, we're motivated by the same things. We love the same things. We hate the same things on a fundamental level, and we care about truth. And so I kind of thought, there's so many civilizations and societies that talk about spiritual things and stuff. I can't imagine they were all just playing a game for so long.
Yeah.
But more than that, more than talking about it and experiencing it and even integrating it into their religion, they, the resource dedication to build the pyramids is astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even getting into, a lot of people will say, we have no idea how they built it. I don't think that's really true. From what I've done a little bit of research into this, and from what I can tell, there's some really complicated math that goes into it, and there's some really hard things that they would have had to do to make it happen. But fundamentally, we know how they could have done it. It just would take huge amounts of resources and very smart planning and everything like that. Which, even if that's all it is, and maybe it's the case that there's something else to them that we don't know about or whatever. But my point is, even if it's the case that all it was a ridiculous amount of forethought and labor, if you're living in a time period that's as harsh as I imagine living in the desert in Egypt would have been 5,000 years ago, or 3,000, whatever it was, whenever it was that the pyramids were built, like, you're not gonna just do that for fun.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's got to be some reason that they were willing to put themselves through all of that.
It also the case that long ago, it may not have looked the way it does now. It may not have been quite as, desert.
Yeah, true. That's possible.
And they may have, if they had the amount of resources and technology and forethought to create structures as big and marvelous as like the pyramids and all sorts of other things, then it's probably the case that they could garden and have livestock and that sort of thing, right? So it may have been the case that many, many thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago or whatever, that it was an entirely different looking place.
Yeah, could be.
Even still, I don't think that dismisses what you're saying. I think if anything, it adds to it. It's like, so what was happening? What were they doing?
Yeah.
Were they just making no technological advancement? Obviously not. They were doing things that shock us and wow us even today when we think in terms of. I disagree with you a little bit. I don't think we fully understand on how they did everything. Maybe a large bit of it, or how they could have possibly done some things.
Yeah, I think
but there are some things that don't quite make sense.
Yeah, that's true. There are definitely still mysteries about it, but I think it's not the case that broadly we have no idea how they could like construct something of that shape.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will go that far to say like, oh, it would never have been able to happen with their technology or whatever. But I think, or with the level of technology that we think they had.
Yeah.
But I think it is just to build that shape. Although there's a lot of other interesting things that you could look at, like how it aligns with things in the sky. Or I heard something once. There's a lot of claims made about it, how somebody found some kind of like wire running through certain things. I don't know.
Mm.
But yeah, it definitely is. There's definitely a mystery, certain mystery about it. And to be clear, I also, when I say technology, I don't imagine that looks like what we conceive of technology as, like
screens and laptops. And
yeah, I don't imagine that they. Maybe it's the case that they didn't even use electricity. I don't know. Like that could be something that's unique to us, but maybe they had some other knowledge or understanding of a different resource that we haven't thought of or discovered. Yeah. Maybe something spiritual, maybe something physical that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
Any number of things. I don't know.
Based on what I was taught in elementary school, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if I look back at how I thought, because I didn't pay so much attention, just enough to pass. But my recollection of how humans developed was Benjamin Franklin accidentally got shocked by lightning, and then from there decided we were going to use lightning.
Yeah.
And so now we have like microphones and computers and cell phones and stuff like that. That's basically all I got from school.
That might be something like that.
So, and that was very recent in terms of human history. That was so recent. We went from that to Alexander Graham Bell created the telephone, and then before we know it, we have Wi-Fi and streaming and all sorts of stuff, right? And I don't even know how any of that works, right?
Mm.
So I don't imagine that's how it all actually went. But if all of that developed as recently as it did, and we went from like, not being able to get around so fast to like even flight, or like the F-35 fighter jets, which are like magic.
Yeah.
Like pilots are seamlessly connected to the fastest thing that moves on Earth, right? Like these with pivoting engines and crazy fuel that we never would have been using before, and like they fly at crazy altitudes, and they're like basically invisible based on how we've created them and stuff. Like radars can't detect them; they're so smooth. Like the level of precision in that. And we went from the Wilbur Wright brothers making paper airplanes, right, in a short time frame. So, based on how quickly different types of technology have developed, like even trains and cars and all different types of technology that aren't all electronic in nature, especially like automobiles. I don't think it makes sense to, like, thousands of years in Egypt, thousands, and resources and power and abundance and time and effort put towards things. It wouldn't make sense that they just stood still and just were happy with where they were at.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't writing, they weren't thinking, they weren't creating, they weren't doing math, they weren't doing anything like that.
Yeah.
They weren't adding or subtracting, they weren't looking for more or less, they weren't watching the stars, they weren't watching, like, if they were looking at even half the things we're looking at, and they're human,
Right.
then sometimes I think, like, oh, I could build a ladder out of that tree. And then, so, then it goes from there, right? So thousands and thousands of years of Egyptian technology. It's very likely the case that they had developed a type of technology, a something or other that we don't know how it worked or what it did, or what came from it. And it became very advanced.
Yeah.
And they maybe were even able to use it to do all sorts of different things. Quite possibly go to space.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. Yeah, another thing I think about in relation to ancient technology often is the flood.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a Christian, it would be hard to deny the Great Flood, I feel like.
or a great flood, or great floods.
Yeah,
or
some kind of great flood that happened that wiped a lot of things out, because pretty much everybody from history tells you that that's what happened. And also the Tower of Babel, I think about.
I do too.
It could be the case that it was a literal tower, I guess. But I think at the very least it was more than if it was a literal tower, it was also more than that, like for a purpose that we don't think of towers as having. Just because.
You mean it wasn't for office spaces?
Yeah, probably not. There's this, the way that it's worded in scripture, I think it sounds like they were actually achieving their goal, right? For us, it would be ludicrous to say you could build a tower so high that you could reach the gods, the heavens. But it seems like, and you could say, oh, well, the reason that God cast them down, messed that project up was because of human pride. But, like, clearly human pride was already a major problem.
Yeah.
Clearly Adam and Eve were very prideful, and that was the major problem. And he didn't, confuse the languages then, right?
Yeah.
But it was like when they were building the Tower of Babel that he decided, okay, enough is enough. This needs to stop. Like, there's this sense that I have when I read that story as though the people trying to do that were, like, they knew something. They were actually doing something. They weren't just vainly making a tall thing.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's interesting too, just to add to this, maybe you'll think of other things, but especially in the biblical context, the punishment fits the crime, right? And so we see the pride of Adam and Eve, we see Cain kill Abel, we see pains of childbirth and labor and knowledge and wisdom and different things that are repercussions, right? So that's a great point. Like, if they were working towards something, and one of the punishments for that was now there's language as a barrier, like diversity of language, that's pretty, that has to be pretty bizarre.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't see a reason for, like, a lot of people will say, oh, it was just because of, pride or whatever, but like I said, pride far pre-exists the Tower of Babel.
At the very least, it maybe wasn't only pride.
Yeah. So something about the Tower of Babel influenced God to be like, okay, this is how it's going to be from now on. And what that was, I don't know. Reach the gods. What does that mean? I don't know. But me saying I don't know, I feel like is maybe getting a little bit towards the things that these people were concerned about are so different from the things that we're concerned about. In the average person in our modern day. We don't think about, like, reaching the gods. What is that? That's ridiculous, But clearly there was some serious effort put into pursuing that.
Yeah.
And maybe something like that goal is what was happening in Egypt with the pyramids, or any sort of megalithic structures that we find. Like, I continue to marvel at the extent to the extent of the work that would go into doing something like that, and how dedicated you must be, and how sure you must be that that would be useful to do, to undertake the mammoth task of building the Tower of Babel, building the pyramids, building megalithic structures.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just got to be something to that. There's got to be some point to that, some purpose of it that is... Because it's not even... it's not. You can't even say that it's just beauty, right? Because even the pyramids, but certainly the megalithic structures aren't beautiful in the sense that we would think like a chapel or something intricately carved is. They're pretty... I mean, they're just shapes, which is cool. And I appreciate them, but like, I think there's a lot more. People made art and other like beautiful things that are, I would say, are even more beautiful than those structures. Those structures are maybe more impressive or more imposing or something, but not more beautiful.
But we also don't know what they would have looked like in their heyday.
Yeah, that's true. Well, sort of. I think we mostly know what the pyramids would have looked like.
We don't, because it's a common theory is that there was like gold and marble all over and around and inlaid in the pyramids.
Yeah,
and that it's very possible they could have painted and done art and done all sorts of creative things on it. We also know that there were a lot of like tomb raiders that took as much as they could from the pyramids.
From the inside, for sure. And
we haven't been inside the pyramids.
Well, we've been inside parts of them, but not all the way through, for
sure. But why wouldn't they have taken ornamental things or decorations on the outside too?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
if they
it's
were there,
possible that there could have been. Although I think we maybe have some descriptions of them. I don't know. This is where I'm far out of my depth as far as archaeology goes. So you could be right about all those things. But, like... what am I trying to say?
Not just beauty.
It's not just beauty, right? And because I still think it's the case that there's other things that we have that are surviving from those time periods, like temples and statues and stuff that are... Even, let's say, it had gold and marble on it. Still maybe at least comparably beautiful... maybe more beautiful than the pyramids, and probably a lot less effort comparatively.
Yeah.
So you can't say, I feel like, that it's only beauty as the point of that, because there are much more accessible ways to comparable or greater amounts of beauty. So I don't know. Yeah, these are just all things pointing to there's a purpose for these things that we don't understand, that we're not even close to understanding. And I think thinking of these things as attempts at technology similar to what we have is the wrong way of thinking about it. I don't know what the right way is, but I think that's the wrong way.
You think that it's more likely the case that whatever's behind this asteroid is some sort of technology or piece of something from the past than alien life forms coming to visit us?
From now. Yeah.
You think it's more likely?
I think so. Yeah, I do.
I do too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be... I also think that's cooler, me personally, but that's neither here nor there. One question I had thought of...
What if it's a time capsule?
Oh, like something that they put out there ages ago and...
Now it's coming back.
At the predestined time. I don't know. Yeah, that would be crazy. Yeah, it's certainly the case that our priorities are so different from the priorities of these people in the past.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe the world seems ripe for a call back to ancient priorities in a way, you know? I feel like certainly in our generation there's a desire for tradition and in beauty and spirituality, and not just spirituality in like the Zen meditate millennial sense, like spirituality in a real practical life sense.
The way my father puts it, I talked to him a little bit about our generation as well, and he said that it seems to him that a lot of people in our generation are in search for something they feel that is lost or was taken from them.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good way to put it. Very good way to put it. I think that's especially true in... I think it's true for everybody, but I think that's especially true for white people, maybe.
Oh boy.
just because there has been a systematic, a intentional by white people destruction of our own like heritage, or like pushing away of it. As in, you'll hear talk about, oh, we should celebrate African heritage or Mexican heritage or whatever. You look back at the Aztecs, you look back at the Zulus, whatever. Those are like, oh, that's like your heritage or whatever. But you hear this language from people like, oh, I'm just white, whatever,
Yeah.
But it's like we have like a super rich heritage in Europe and all of that. And
one thing that I will say, because I think I see where you're going, is I'll correct your verbiage for the sake of any potential viewers we might have.
Sure.
Is I don't think it's white people as much as Americans in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the move, like if we look at early America, even to modern immigration today, not the issues of it, but just people coming into the United States, is they come in to try to be American. And the modern, like, American dream and the idea of Americans is so young. So young. So I don't think as many people in Europe who are maybe closer to the places where that rich history's there, like the Vikings, or even if we look at like the Scots or the Irish or the English, right? They have that culture, the rich culture of their people and their grandfathers and their grandfathers' fathers and all that sort of stuff that's been there forever. They have all those ancient structures and maybe more primitive versions of those tribes and stuff and clans. Like they're closer to that. Whereas a lot of the people, and in my perception, what I think is that a lot of people, black, white, Asian, mixed, Hispanic, European, came to America and kind of were, at the very least, okay with leaving a lot of it behind, but some even wanted to, and to just be American. And American is like, we just have what you bring.
Yeah.
So if you're not bringing that, you're just kind of blank slating it, starting fresh. Sure. And so you do detach that. Because unfortunately, I've talked to a lot of young African American men who feel like they don't have any culture either. That their culture is wrapped up in things that are way too new. And they don't want that. And they look back for something farther. And I've even known some people who've gone back to Africa to try to visit where they think their culture is or where they think they came from, and they're not welcome. They're not received well. They're not part of that. And they're not.
Yeah.
They're not from there. Not in the same way that you'd say you're from home. Like that's not home, right? And a lot of them aren't received so well.
Sure.
And it's the same, I would probably imagine, for anyone from anywhere. That when you come, if you were brought up in at least a few generations of America, like, you are detached from what was before it. Because all of the people that were natives here, even their culture is really young. If we look at the expanse of the world, like Native American culture is way younger than some of the ancient civilizations, right?
True.
So even those who are left from that, they have a relatively newer culture as well.
Sure.
So if even those people who, my belief is that they came at some point, maybe way earlier than proper settlers, right? But they came into America as well. Who was here first? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who was here first, because a lot of the Native American lore is that there were people before them that were here. So whatever that culture is, that doesn't exist anymore. There's no tie to that, right? So it's not. I think you're 100% right, and I think 100% of or not 100%, but I think a lot of people that are our age are finding that as well.
Yeah.
Regardless of their ethnicity.
Yeah, yes, and I agree with a lot of what you said, but I think I'm going to double down on my language of, I think it is in some sense a unique situation that white people are in. Even in Europe, not because that we are, I think everybody is missing that connection, true, especially in America. I agree with that. But I think even in Europe, there's this sense that Western culture has allowed to creep in that even though there is that heritage that exists for white people groups, a lot of it is evil. And you need to distance yourself from it and cut it off because it's colonial or imperial or racist or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And you don't have that sense among, black people or Hispanic people or Asian people. Like that's not the rhetoric, at least in the West, that those things are evil. Those things are much more readily celebrated than the traditions of white people. And so I don't want to say that I am more concerned about. I'm not more concerned about white people than anybody else. That's definitely not the case. But what I am saying is certainly in America, and I think even uniquely among young white people, there is a sense of disconnection from our history that is reinforced by being told that our history is evil, even if it does exist.
But what do you think that spurs on? Because I assume, naturally, that it will spur on a renaissance of something.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And that's not even the first time that's happened in America, as young as we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stories about, especially the South, is just a thing. A lot of people had a sort of renaissance, or calling back to older traditions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of Southern American culture way back when was influenced by knights and valor, and
mm-hmm.
they loved those stories. That's just what was popular at the time. And you have to assume that was probably because there was probably a lot of the same things of we can't love British culture,
right?
Because we came from them, and they're evil, and they're imperial, and they're the ones who tried to take it from us, right? So we can't like that. So then they harken back to something older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's in large part what we're seeing. I think traditional religion is seeing a huge influx of people our age.
Mm-hmm.
Catholicism, Orthodoxy, not so much Anglicanism, because I think they've shot themselves in the foot a little bit here recently. But even still, to some extent, Anglicanism, which, broadly speaking, isn't even that old, or nearly as... None of those things are really that old compared to the type of things we've been talking about in this discussion. But older, all of this to say, it would be... If you were talking about a time capsule or something, it would be a very interesting time for something so ancient to appear to us.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like the world is ripe for something like that.
Yeah, looking for it.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be cool.
What if it has all of the answers?
Every answer we've ever wanted is there. I don't know. That would probably be bad for us.
I don't know. People wouldn't believe it anyway.
Yeah, they wouldn't. The other thing I think about too is, I've often said, as we increase in power, we decrease in wisdom, and so we're more and more concerned with the practical survival things, and less concerned with the is it worth doing any of this, or why am I doing these things, or what kind of person am I, and what's my purpose and all that. So we're so unaware of those things as a culture, not us personally maybe, but that I don't even know how receptive we would be. I think our generation, it would have to start in our generation maybe, or it probably would just start in our generation if something like that came back and presented itself to us. One thing that made me think of is something I was going to say back when we were talking about the difference between humans and monkeys and all that stuff. If it's the case that just raw intelligence and the ability to build things and make tools and stuff is what distinguishes us from the animals, then I'm a pretty dumb... I'm not that far from a monkey, really, realistically speaking. I can make some things, but any of the things that I use on a daily basis, I can't make. And I don't know that even if I spent my entire life trying to make them on my own, I would ever get close.
Well, but think of some of the things you've been a part of making. Shoes, you use those on a daily basis.
Yeah, sure. But those are not quite so far removed from what monkeys are capable of using or doing as,
But I don't know any monkeys that have read books.
That's where I'm getting is those things, the things that really separate us are the things that we are drifting away from. The things that really separate us from the animals are the things that are self-reflective and about self-improvement and about self-awareness, why we're here. Is there a purpose to me? And if so, how oriented am I toward that purpose? Those types of things.
Yeah.
Which our ancestors seem much more concerned with than we are.
Yeah, and I mean, to some degree, that makes sense because we are standing on the shoulders of kings and nations, and we are the sons of princes, and we're in a time where there's so much abundance and wealth, that we can concern ourselves with these things, right? And another separation between us and any other animal is no other animal has gone to the lengths that humans have to create this global wealth that allows so many countries to participate in the furthering of the species. No other animals. None.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and maybe that's interesting. I would have, until just now, been pretty confident in agreeing with what you said about, now that we have this prosperity and stuff, we're capable of thinking about these things again. But that said, like, maybe that's the wrong way around. I've often thought a very famous concept in psychology is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where at the bottom of it is like survival, and then you need survival as a prerequisite to like prosperity, so that's like getting shelter and all these things that are nice but maybe not necessary for survival, and then that's a prerequisite to getting involved in the community and feeling loved and accepted, and that's a prerequisite to self-actualizing or like being the best version of whatever you are supposed to be. But I almost think that pyramid is the wrong way.
Sure.
And that maybe it's the case that if we were, much like our ancestors, more focused on our place in the universe and fulfilling our purpose before these other more earthly things, that maybe the survival elements would follow, and our desire to fulfill our purpose as living things, as humans, would then inform our technology and our society and make that better than it is now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what our ancestors did, probably.
Yes.
And they were probably better off for it.
Sure. I think, if I'm going to just clarify what I was saying, it would be that, think about, like, the richest people, like, unfathomably rich. Like, the sorts of people that, for the next 1,000 years, their families will not need to work. Like, insane amounts of money, right? Does the son of one of those people concern himself with the same things that I do? Or even, like, the dreams that I have to someday own a business and stuff? Like, he doesn't.
Right.
In fact, what he may be concerned about are things that only someone that wealthy could be concerned about. Like, I don't know. I don't even know those things, right?
Sure.
But they're not things that I'm capable of being concerned about. The types of, towns he may own, or I don't even know.
Yeah.
But, like, the abundance that's there makes it such that he could just go camping and try to start a cabin in the woods. He could do those things. But because he was born into where he was born, it's not even in his head, really. Right. Maybe some, but sure. By and large, the abundance of wealth has allowed him to think about things that I don't even think about. Whereas, let's say I meet an old Appalachian crusty dude who his forefathers were farmers and now he doesn't have so much land, but he's built something for himself, right? He's got a little company and he's got a family with 6 kids and stuff, right? Who would I go to for sage advice? I'd go to that guy.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah,
I would.
Definitely.
Because of the struggle, because of if he's made something good out of so many hard things that have come to him, I'd be more interested in what he has to say probably than the son of a billionaire.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe, right? I'd like to talk to them both,
in probably most cases.
Yeah, but, I would like to talk to them both. But I guess that's what I'm saying is, in many ways, if you are American, like born in America, you are, whether you want to be or not, you're the son of princes, right? There's something crazy, I've said it before, like, there's a weird stat out there, it's something like, if you make $30,000 or more in America, you're in the top 1% of the world.
Yeah.
Right, something like that. So it's like, and that's like minimum wage here, right? Yeah. So the abundance of wealth that our country's created has allowed it to be such that we don't concern ourselves with things that may be better, right? If we're looking at the hierarchy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, so if we want to get back to those things that maybe matter more, like simple things, like we have to not only pursue it, we have to give up and forego the wealth. To chase after those things, which we don't do. And so then we get in this sort of dilemma. A lot of people are just getting this dilemma of like, oh, well, I want to, work out and I'd love to homestead and I'd love to do this sort of thing. But we don't give up everything that the wealth has offered us.
Sure.
We just want it and keep along with the things that concern the wealthy.
Yeah, for sure.
Is what I was saying.
Listen.
Not that that's the argument. Or anything.
Yeah, no, and and maybe it would be better to give up everything we have. I don't know, like, and maybe it wouldn't. Like, maybe there's a sense in which this prosperity that we have can be redeemed. But it seems like our ancestors, have done it the other way around. That they started with more transcendent concerns, and then that informed the way that they lived. Whereas now, like, the way that we live is informed by more earthly concerns. So, yeah, that's kind of...
Because if you think about the amount of wealth that most people in America have, that has allowed you to read these and to read the bookshelves worth of things you've read and to go to college and not be worried about what food you're putting on the table, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, 14 hours in another direction with, the wrong strike of luck, your parents might have been homeless in Mexico, and then what do you look like growing up to? You are going to be more primitive. You are going to be more like, not primitive in a bad sense, but in the sense of, like, you probably are going to be better with your hands. You're probably going to be a better fighter. You're probably going to be a better craftsman. You're probably going to have made a lot more at this point, like with your hands, I mean, that's just where you are. You weren't in the abundance of wealth that allowed you to pursue things like extracurricular activities and even curricular activities.
Sure.
Which
itself is, I mean, it's maybe good.
It's helpful and good. I think
helpful.
those are good things, but they only come about, like, if you're abandoned in Alaska, I'm not going to be like, man, I wonder if there's aliens on that ship, and then do this deep dive and research and stuff. And I'm going to be like, okay, I got to get a roof above my head, like, now. That's the immediate concern. And from that, I may learn, like, patience and kindness and prayer and hope and all sorts of things like that from working through that.
Yeah, and there's certainly a place for both of those things, or maybe a necessity for both of those things. And I think, like, the ancient cultures definitely had those things. There were certainly wealthy people who were scholars and whatever, and poor people who weren't. And so, I mean, well, in essence, that's how the pyramids were built. At the very bottom level is, like, you had the architects and the religious people and all of those people that came together to plan the whole thing, and then you had the grunts that did the dragged the stones and did whatever. So that's always been the case and probably always will be.
But one thing we do have, and I think there's a lot of people our age who think like this, is there is that call to adventure and to make something of ourselves and go do hard things. And I think what we ought to do is encourage each other more to be like, don't be afraid. Like, I'm so concerned with all the time, and so I imagine other people are too, but with, like, how much more I can learn before I go do the things I'm scared to do, right? Like, oh man, well, if I'm gonna go to Alaska, well then I have to learn all about all the Alaskan plants and the things that are dangerous so that I don't accidentally die, and I have to learn about the culture and the trade and how expensive meat is and all that sort of stuff, and then I may never even go. Whereas I think it might be better if we're like, okay, look, you did the high school thing, you did the college thing, you've been working your corporate job, and yet you have that call to adventure. If that's the case, just go. Make the mistakes, get hurt, lose an arm, but, like, go. Stop putting it off. Stop studying. Stop learning. If it's truly the call for adventure, then go. And go and let that be. It's not adventure if you know everything. Right? Like, and I think I'm definitely guilty of that. But I overcomplicate everything, right? I'm like, oh man, I want to have a family and have a homestead and all that sort of stuff. And in the meantime, all I do is try to give myself enough of a cushion so that when I go into those things, it is not hard. When it's in the hardship that I'll learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you were saying. Sorry to cut you off again, but what you were saying is there's a place for both. I think there is, right? What we have to be careful to do is not react out of fear, though, right? Like, I can take a book with me to Alaska. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But if I'm like, oh man, I'm just gonna keep reading here, keep learning, and keep scrolling, and keep doing the learning thing instead of that, because that's too scary. But then if we go and we abandon all of the good things that come with pursuit of knowledge and music and beauty and art, right? That's not the case either. It's the case that we have to be brave enough to try to keep doing both.
Sure. Yeah, there's certainly a balance to be struck there, and we're certainly not striking it. But I mean, there's places. I don't know. I guess I can't. I don't have so much to add to that, but I agree. Another question, just to shift kind of back to the alien idea that I didn't get a chance to ask earlier is.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That wasn't a dig. I could have interjected it, but it just didn't flow. Let's say this thing is an alien or whatever, and an intelligent, smart alien comes to Earth. Like, what would I've had a lot of people ask me, like, what impact would that have on your faith, if any?
I don't know. Again, I think it's, if you're asking me, very situational, right? Is he the anomaly? Is he alien because he doesn't look anything like modern day humans, for example? If that's a possibility, like maybe he went really far away and was like, crap, by the time I get back it's gonna be so much later, and now he doesn't really look like us.
Yeah.
Or is it the case that he is from another planet of an advanced civilization that came here?
Yeah, let's say that that's the situation.
Oh man, so like there's another advanced civilization and they send a representative here and we don't kill him.
Like, yeah, like Independence Day, like not Independence Day, but like these kinds of like alien movies where you have smart aliens. He lands here. Like, what impact does that have on your?
I guess to some degree, like, what's his interest in humans? How advanced are they? Is he? What sort of being is he? What type of advanced are they? Because I guess it could be the case that he's not very intellectual or very self-aware, just that they're really good at building things. You know, that's possible. And then what the lore is, I guess, too. I'd be like, hey, what do you guys think about everything, you know?
That would be the big one for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if... I would say...
I don't think it... Okay. Say what you're going to say. But I was just going to say, I don't think it discounts all the Bible. But
no, certainly not. I would... Okay, if it's not clear to me that this alien has the divine image, then I don't really... Not that I don't care, but it wouldn't have any effect on my faith, I don't think. Like, if it seems like it's just, like you said, maybe really good at building things, but doesn't have self-reflection or any care about any of the things that humans care about or are uniquely capable of caring about, then I don't really... Then it really has no effect. If it seems as though this thing has the divine image and is self-reflective and does care about those types of things, and it's also the case that they don't know anything about God or have no religion or have no contact with the divine, that might pose a bit of a problem for me, spiritually or faith, in terms of faith, just because I'd be very confused as to why God would create something with a divine image and then abandon it, you know, and not reach out in the way that he has reached out to us. That's a very unique scenario. I also think, by the same token, if it seemed like this thing had the divine image and also had some form of belief in God, even if it didn't look quite the same as us, like, that would be a huge reaffirmation, I think, of my faith. It's like, not that I need that, or really, but I think if that were, I would be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This fits into my worldview. This coheres. Like, God made this other thing, and he cares about it just like he cares about us. He reached out to them, and just like he reached out to us. Maybe not in the same way. Maybe it all looks very different, but like, you know, that would all fit in very nicely.
Yeah, it probably, I don't know. A lot of it, I think, would depend on what he claims to be, too.
Yeah, and we'd also have to keep in mind, like, this is just one of these things, you know. As diverse as the culture on Earth is, there could be it could be as, or even more diverse wherever he comes from, you know, the beliefs and the cultures and whatever. So, like, who knows if what he's telling us is just what he thinks or what everybody thinks, where he comes from, or what, you know, and there's so many questions. So I think I broadly would say it wouldn't have too much of an effect on my faith, except in that one specific circumstance. I would have questions, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's an alien anyway, so.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely
see.
just someone from the past.
Just some kind of like ancient pre-Tower of Babel mystic that created some kind of crazy something and is just getting back.
Yeah.
But this would be a wild time for him to come back. Maybe a fitting time. I don't know.
True. I mean, it could just be like a bunch of crystals.
Yeah, it could just be a rock. Maybe most likely it's just some kind of space rock.
If nobody's got dibs on it, I call dibs.
Yeah.
I want it.
Yeah,
I'll
that would be
take it.
cool.
I'm sure it'll be intercepted.
Yeah.
The Navy will make a weapon out of it or something.
Yeah. We won't know about it though.
And they'll test it on all their soldiers.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
We figured out we can make a drug out of this space rock. Makes them kill real good. And then they have like 30-year lifespan.
Yeah. And then they're all making $200,000 a year from the government or whatever on their limited benefits, but that only lasts for the remaining 5 years of their life.
I could see that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm more cynical about our own government than I am about alien life. Like I don't. Yeah, maybe they, even if there is alien life.
Dude, what if Donald Trump is building a launch pad / catch for it?
That would be pretty cool.
I don't know what he's building.
I don't know what he's building.
But he might be trying to catch it. Whatever it is.
Donald Trump is a lizard man or whatever. Something
makes a
conspiracies.
huge launch pad that says "land here" on it. That would be so sick.
Kick me.
That would be so cool.
Oh man. Yeah, that would be awesome. Do you think it's the case that, let's say, either independently or through this thing that comes, we learn to go to space and really go to space?
We already have gone to space.
Travel anywhere we want at light speed or whatever. Do you think that would be good?
I don't know. So I've watched a lot of videos and read a few articles on space travel and all these different types of alien crafts and sightings and objects and things that the Navy's read or picked up on their radars and things that the Air Force has picked up on their radars and they don't understand how certain things there's a lot of stories that if you just dig deep enough or not even really dig that deep you'll find oh my gosh, there's a lot of cover-ups or whatever for things we just don't understand or they don't want to tell us. But that it could be the case that we have technology to move through space pretty quickly. I don't think we're that far from being able to go to a couple other planets.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even set up colonies there. I don't think that's so far in the future. And I just feel it'd be for scientists, and they would just go to different planets and pick up rocks and stuff. And I think largely we wouldn't find a lot that impacts a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we found an abundance of gold, on a planet. What would we likely use it for? Probably developing some sort of, Apple product. It would just spur on more of what we do. We'd be oh, well, shoot, I guess America doesn't need gold no more, so we're going to make products here now, Right. It'd be things like that, mining colony up here and that sort of thing. And I don't think it would just be that we'd find a bunch of life or things that are overtly useful. We might find other things we don't have on Earth.
Yeah.
That could potentially be bad, maybe more radioactive things or more things we can make weapons with, but I think we trend towards those sorts of things anyway.
Yeah.
We sort of do that here now.
Yeah, it's true. Even if it's hard to imagine a weapon that matters as much. The nuclear bomb is about as destructive as you need. Anything else feels like it's overkill. You know what I'm saying?
I have some theories about the weaponization of phones and AI and doom scrolling and things like that. If it's not already weaponized,
yeah, probably will be.
then it would very easily be.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
I mean, being able to manipulate people's mind and the way they perceive reality, I don't
Yeah.
imagine that there's anything. I think that's far worse than bombs and
Sure.
threats of.
But even if we're just talking about weapons like of destruction, like, yeah, maybe we find something on another planet that will let us make a weapon that'll blow up a planet or whatever. We can pretty much already do that.
Yeah, we could. So I don't know. I think it would be fascinating if we found some sort of technology that advanced human society. Like, let's say that it can. The real catch that I've seen when I've looked into it, and I don't know that much, is that we understand how we can move through space and time pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have like a power source that's capable of doing it. We don't have like a thing that is that much fuel and power.
Yeah.
It's just the matter to do it. We haven't been able to generate or find or create.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be like the fuel would have to be so dense and powerful to move things that fast without just being done immediately, right? And I've seen some videos and talks and stuff about, these former pilots who are like, they saw alien spacecrafts or whatever they think they are, right? And the rate at which they moved was unfathomable. Like
And they can
hundreds
move in,
of
like,
miles.
weird directions.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff,
hundreds of
yeah.
miles in seconds to a standstill and stuff like that. And maybe they're manned, maybe they're unmanned, whatever. But to be able to do that, we're not there yet.
Or
Like,
maybe
as advanced as
we
get.
are, and those things are just from like us, and we just don't know about them. Like they're being kept from us.
I don't see it as being immediately catastrophic. I think we're sort of, as humans, like, doomed to calamity.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're pointing most of the time, is towards.
Yeah. Regardless of if we go to space or not.
Yeah, for the very like plain and simple principles of like, we very often don't think of should we just think of can we.
Yeah.
And so
we do.
And then that continues to be the case.
Yeah.
Like as we move through time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that has us aimed at destructive things,
Yeah.
regardless of what we find or what.
Certainly
this could
with
bring
AI,
us.
that's the case. I've talked to some people that are in AI development, or like, there's people that are making like robots that can like mimic human action and whatever, and like they just don't, literally, like you're saying, they literally don't think about if they should do it. And some of them are kind of afraid of it, but they're just doing it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have thought about. I think that gets back to what we were talking about earlier about how the priorities are flipped, right? It's not about. We don't think about purpose or intention or anything like that. We just are doing stuff.
Mm-hmm. If you look at humans through all of time as best we can, we've kind of always thought that was the case too. We've always been like, it's gonna end bad.
Sure.
Like every civilization has thought like it's gonna end bad.
Yeah.
Even as recent as like, 50s and 60s with bombs threats and stuff, they were like, it'll be post-apocalyptic. It'll be bad.
Yeah.
And then if you look as far back as like the Mayans and the Vikings and the pagan religions and stuff too, they were like, it'll end in fire.
Yeah,
It'll be
right.
destruction. That's how it'll go.
Yeah.
Everyone has always thought like far enough down the road, calamity.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right. That's probably true.
maybe we'll get there a little faster.
Maybe it's the case that the aliens will bring it to us. Or maybe it's the case that we'll just do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter much.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think Elon thinks that it's possible we could survive it.
I think some of us will. Like,
Well,
a few. Does he think that, like, the general we that is us
I
can
think-
survive it?
from what I gathered from one of the podcasts he did with Joe Rogan, his idea for Mars is like it's a fail-safe.
Mhm.
Like if he can create a colony out there and Earth is doomed, like okay, well humanity doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
The way he talks about it is like as many places as he can put humanity as possible, the better, because it's probably the case that it will end in destruction. And so if he can just put more of us out there, then it won't mean complete destruction of the
Sure,
human
the
race.
Human race, yeah.
Probably.
It's hard for me to, like, I don't know. Earth is just such the perfect home for man, you know? And if it's gone, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's worth keeping us around. I guess you can still do all of the like interior life, spiritual things on Mars that you could here.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. It'd be like losing losing something. It almost feels like Earth is a part of us in a way. Not exactly like that, but as though we were made for it and it was made for us, you know, in some sense. Or more, or maybe just it was made for us. And so to have that gone would be crazy. I don't feel like we would last that long in Mars. I feel like something catastrophic would happen a lot faster.
Like the bubble would pop
out
or something.
There, yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it would have to be like... Have you seen Man of Steel?
Mm-hmm. The first one. Is there another one?
There's not another one.
Okay. The only one that there is then.
And you remember how like the Kryptonians, like they lose their planet, and then the ones that want to come to Earth want to like terraform it.
Yeah.
And it's like uninhabitable for everything that's there, but it is for them. That is kind of, I think, what we would have to do to most planets to survive. We would just have to completely just figure out how to reform it into something that's habitable for humans.
Yeah.
Which sounds like such a big undertaking, that just putting a colony out there and hoping they survive wouldn't be the way we would do it. It would have to be like, okay, let's blow it up, and then whatever's left, let's lay a bunch of soil down.
Yeah.
And just soak it
happens.
for hundreds of years until it starts growing.
Yeah. That would be wild.
That's probably what we gotta do.
Yeah, maybe it'll happen. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Me neither.
That being said, if there's like a sort of Mayflower to Mars, I'd like to be on it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I would not.
I think it'd be sick.
I would not want to be on
Even if it was kind of short-lived or whatever, it'd be kind of cool.
Oh, I didn't even want to go close to that, man.
I could be like... I could have the first soccer team on Mars. I could have the first baby on Mars. I could have the first church on Mars. The first library. Like, everything you do on Mars would be the first.
The first and the oldest.
Dude. And maybe for, like, let's say it lasts, like, like 500 years or something. You could have, like, intergalactic sports competitions. Like, oh, the team from Mars is coming. Woo! You know?
Yeah.
Like, that would be so sick.
I guess so, yeah. I don't feel like that would be worth it.
It would be so cool. Like, imagine holding the first World Cup on Mars and just flying all the teams out there to do it.
Yeah, I mean...
And then they're stuck out there for 10 years or whatever. But, like, that would be so cool.
A decade of their lives is given up for this.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
That would be wild. Yeah,
the first paintball war on Mars. Sick. That would be so cool.
Yeah. And then you'd be like, there's no trees here. There's nothing here.
Yeah.
And that would be the sad part.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the part that I would think about.
People would try to come back, man.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know if we can even do that or make that happen. Maybe Elon will figure it out.
Unfortunately, this would just be the case, and this is going to be a super hot take. So it doesn't have to go in, but no gay or lesbian people would be allowed to come. Like, procreation would be a very high on the priority list,
yeah,
unfortunately.
For sure. And then, once you got enough people, you would have to, like, restrict it. Because you can only have... You only have so many resources out there.
Yeah.
And the ones that you have are really precious. So, like...
I started writing a book about this.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Is it still around?
Yeah, I think somewhere there's pieces of it. Like, I started writing about what would happen if, like, so you had to restrict them, and then all of a sudden there'd be gaps in generations. It'd be like 10 to 20 years between generations.
Yeah.
Because of, like, you'd have to repopulate too, and you'd have to, like, apply for a baby tag to be allowed to have babies. And then what if you like had more than you're supposed to, or like twins on accident, and there's one more than you're supposed to, and like what those people would do, and if they in the book that I was working on, like, what happens if for some reason there's a huge hard separation between Mars and Earth, and so they just kind of are like, okay, I guess we're our own thing now. Yeah. And then people would like search for the history and try to get back, and then they'd come back and Jesus would have already come and nobody's on Earth, and they'd be like, what? We got left behind?
Oh, yeah.
That was the nature of the book.
That's a cool idea. Yeah, man.
And then they'd go to the elders and be like, yo, what happened? And they'd be like, well, we were watching it from a telescope, and they came back and left us.
Yeah, wow. That would be cool. Well, No, it wouldn't be cool, but it'd be a cool book. Yeah, I don't. That would be. That seems so like anti-human to like try to live like that.
Yeah.
There's people that want us to live like that here and now. Oh, the Earth is overpopulated. We need to stop having children.
Yeah. But it's not. Look at how much space there is.
I know. There's so much space. They're lying about that.
Yeah. Even if you did the 6-foot rule, there's so much space.
Yeah, like quite a lot.
Yeah.
Certainly in the United States, in Canada,
in like Texas in particular.
Plenty of land out
space.
there.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all privately owned, so that's really the problem.
Yeah. But it's there, you know. We're not like so overpopulated that we're just jammed up to the gills.
Definitely not. And I think too many people view humans as this kind of like blight upon the earth that needs to be like purged. It's like, well, if that's the case, you know who you can start with.
Yeah. Sweet.
All right.
So yeah, definitely time traveler, not an alien.
Not an alien. Time travelers are just travelers from a long, like who started a long time ago. Maybe these are like the children's children of
The interstellar.
Yeah. Something like that.